today, but just to quickly show how things have changed. This is a printer's copy of an old seating plan. And here's the pulpit, and there is the holy table, right there, centered in the front. And a flat east wall. It was directly above this wall right here, in fact. Completely flat. We're going to be talking mostly about this part of the church, the chancel. And your present chancel goes way off this plan up to the ceiling in a 25-foot square room, about 25 feet high. The chancel area of St. George's Church has had about 4 major different designs in its time. This was the first. This old picture of St. George's is before the streets were paved. It's a postcard.
Are you proposing that we go back?
Unpave the streets and take the wires down. Yes, let's do that. And we'll have candle lighting inside. This grand awakening in architecture happened in the country too. A village church and a country church, you may know them, and it happened all over Virginia, big churches and little churches alike. And they didn't hesitate to use a brand new material that had never been seen in Virginia before, stained glass. That was not physically possible in the colonial period. It wasn't even being made in the colonial period anywhere in the world. It was out of fashion, Central and Continental Europe, and England and America alike. But it got revived and it got adopted immediately into our churches. Well, back to the story of St. George's. Here's the view you see when you walk in, as you know. You had a fantastic committee that was just introduced. That committee detailed everything that ought to be done, everything they wanted done in great detail. We've done them all, and it's the program. It's the document that your committee produced of what to do is the program for the project. And most owners don't ever quite get around to writing a program for the poor architect. But you all wrote one in great detail. But one of the major things in your program was to make the altar more visible. If the dust cover weren't on this, you'd hardly see it. It's got a lot of stuff in front of it. You move a little bit to the right, and the pulpit immediately blocks the altar, and a very large organ console blocks the altar. Move a little to the left, and it's blocked again. We wanted to make the altar more visible. The biggest thing we're doing is moving all the music to the west gallery. The choir and the console spills out into the nave by this distance. And it's very full, it's very crowded. You can't squeeze another choir member in. And it blocks the altar. Now that original evangelical chancel was on the line of the chancel arch. Here's the engaged column that creates the chancel arch, and the altar and pulpit were right there. Right there. And that's precisely where we're putting, precisely where we're suggesting to put. We haven't put it yet. We're suggesting to put the altar literally where it was originally. But we're not going to wall off the rest of the chancel in the process. There's the west gallery. The organ will be centered on the west gallery. This great arch in the west gallery originally was open. That is brick infill, and it was a structural arch that opened the whole tower to the nave. And that gives a room about 18 feet square behind that arch, and it's 25 feet high. And the organ will be there, and a facade will project out from the arch just a couple of feet, and the choir will be on either side on the gallery. And then all the choir furniture will be removed, and the altar will be front and center in great visibility. We're saving all the pieces. The reredos, for instance, will move forward. Will move 8 feet towards the nave, and this sketch shows it with 8 feet behind and altar centered we need more accessible seating for people with disabilities. Your building code requires 6 places for a nave of this size. And they can't be single places, they must be, each accessible seat must be in a group, and a group is 2 or more accessible seats together. So we've got three groups of 2 people apiece. Just to the right of this red dot, you have 2 spaces over to the right. We're making the next 2 spaces here also accessible. And then in the west end of the church, we have another group of 2. You'll see in the sketch that the front pews are shown as notched. The second from the front is notched 1 door's width into its space, and the very front pew is notched 2 door widths into its space. So right here, you'll see these 2 pews with notches in the ends. We got the idea from a field trip we took to St. Paul's in Alexandria. Their front pews are very much like yours. The building is Gothic, whereas yours is Italian Romanesque, but otherwise it has what St. Paul's has you have. What St. Paul's did a few years ago, you're going to do, I hope, in the next couple of years. Their pews originally were notched. I thought they were notched for the same reasons we're doing, but no, they were originally notched back like this. It makes a very nice front space. You'll see we're showing the font here. When you have a funeral with a traditional casket, you'll move the font and plenty of room for the casket. You can go to communion without squeezing past the casket. Plenty of room. You can turn the casket as you are supposed to do, and it goes out of the church feet first. Plenty of room to do that. So notching these pews gives several advantages. The casket, funeral, going to communion at a funeral, a wedding party, there's more room for a wedding party to stand. For a baptism, there's plenty of room for the baptismal party to stand before the people at the font. And then we've converted the side pews on the right to accessible pews for people with disabilities. You'll see 3 steps here now that everyone has to climb to go to the communion rail. Again, the law of our land requires accessibility for people with disabilities. And many people cannot manage those 3 steps. The communion rail, you get a little sense of it right here, and right here it disappears off the screen. The communion rail will be on the first step, so you'll kneel on the first step, or stand as you please. No one has to climb steps. That's a very important feature to incorporate to comply with the law of the land for accessibility. Again, you see these 2 pews better here, and 1 notch and a 2nd notch. This one will go back 1 door's width, and the next one goes back a 2nd door's width. And that just opens this little area up. All the music goes to the west gallery. So the space that this organ occupies becomes a new room, a newfound room. It's about 12 feet wide and 18 feet east to west. We're proposing to open up these 3 arches, and of course all the pipes will be out of here. These 3 arches, and that will be an extension of the north gallery. It can be a little private chapel or meditation room. It can be a lot of different things. Maybe you can barely see, but if you look in your booklet, in your centerfold, you'll get a better view of this. In the centerfold of your booklet, these 3 arches, we're showing a musician up here. It could be a little offstage musical group, small ensemble up overlooking the altar.
So what's the access to that? The organ?
Oh, you come right off the north gallery, and I'm glad you mentioned that. That'll be another exit. Every space for assembly by the building code needs 2 means of egress. And your galleries only have the 2 at the west end, but that leaves each north and south gallery with only 1 means of egress. So you go through this room where the pipes are, and we're extending the stairway, which is right out over there. We're extending it up 1 more flight to to access this level. And then you go through this room, which is just an extension of the north gallery, and directly into the staircase.
So if those three arches, are they gonna be taken out?
No, they're still there. We just take out, you have a fabric material that hides the pipes. And there's a thin little wooden decorative element that's kind of broken up, as a matter of fact. We're taking it out, and you'll just have three open arches that look down into the chancel.
So if you put a small quartet in there, or strings or something, that would just float down?
Oh, absolutely, yes. It'd be completely open to the gallery, and completely open down here.
Is there handicap access to the galleries?
We'll get there, yes, there's going to be. We should do it, and we are doing it. Yes, I'll show you in a minute. In fact, it's right now. Again, it's a little pale on the slide, but look in your centerfold on the right margin, and you'll see that we're extending the lift that you now have to get to this level, right in this corner. We're extending that lift up one more level, and it will arrive in the gallery, in the south gallery, right over my head here, in this corner. Your galleries have 4 steps. Each step is about a foot high, and the uppermost level of the south gallery will access the lift, and the uppermost level will be free of seating, and it'll just be along this wall. It'll just be a path for wheelchairs or people with walkers who couldn't otherwise get to the gallery and get to the choir. We'll have space for 3 or 4 wheelchair seatings in the choir. I don't think we'll ever need that many, but the space just works out that it can be that big, or down to 1 and put choir chairs. We are proposing chairs for the choir, not pews, and it'll have a lot of flexibility up there. But this side will have a lot of seating for people with disabilities.
Now, how will those chairs blend in with the rest of the architecture of the church and the choir?
Well, you hardly see them because they'll almost be hidden by your iron railing.
So when we look back at the back, we won't just see chairs.
Well, you'll see the upper levels, but I believe that they'll blend in very nicely. And what you have now is a jumble of 2 or 3 kinds of benches and chairs and all kinds of other stuff up there. I think the fact that they're all going to be alike and all be in nice rows, all unified, I think they'll be very successful in their appearance. I want to mention one more thing I forgot here. A lot of your miscellaneous gallery furniture covers the windows. And you're losing a lot of the effect of the windows, the beauty and the light, as seen from the nave down below. First of all, the top level will be free of seating, and we need cross aisles to access each of the other rows from the top level, which is the main aisle for the gallery. And the aisles will come straight down from the windows, the same width as the windows, and there'll be no blocking of those stained glass windows as you view it from the nave or from the gallery. It makes a big difference. I've tried a few that I could move around just to show the difference, and it makes a big difference in the view of those windows by removing a whole mass of different kinds of things that are blocking the windows.